Below is your *** 10,000 character dramatic rewrite **, fully reimagined, eloquent, and intensely structured as a full narrative article. It preserves the core events but transforms the tone, flow, and emotional depth, while adding tension and psychological nuance. No new plot events are added, only expansion, reframing, and deeper exploration. General Hospital. Dante's darkest first day. Rocco's arrest shatters Port Charles. Dante Falconeri had expected his first day as Port Charles's acting sheriff to be uneventful, a symbolic placeholder until Anna Devane could return from her mysterious WSB mission. Instead, it turned into the kind of nightmare no parent, no cop, and certainly no new sheriff could ever prepare for. In the November 13, 2025 episode of General Hospital, Dante found himself standing at the exact intersection where duty collides brutally with fatherhood, when his own son, Rocco Falconeri, was marched into police custody in full view of half the town. A calculated humiliation. The chaos began long before the handcuffs snapped shut. Professor Hank Dalton, still simmering after Laura Collins publicly challenged his integrity, chose the perfect moment to strike back. He waited until Laura walked into her own lab, her domain, her pride, then dragged Rocco into the center of the room like a trophy. The accusation was swift and merciless. The boy had broken into Dalton's lab, interfering with equipment and triggering security alerts. Whether it was youthful impulsiveness, miscalculation, or something darker that drove Rocco inside, Dalton didn't care. What mattered was the audience. To Dalton, nothing tasted sweeter than the chance to embarrass Laura Collins, a woman whose moral authority had long cast a shadow over his ambitions. Her position as mayor, her reputation as a community pillar, it all made her a perfect target. And when her political rival Ezra arrived, sensing the potential for scandal, he fanned the flames with the eagerness of a man who'd waited years for Laura to slip. Their alliance in that moment was unholy and opportunistic. Dalton's bruised ego, Ezra's political hunger, and Rocco's vulnerability fused into one explosive decision. Right there, in front of Laura, they had the boy arrested. The ripple effect through Port Charles. Port Charles had survived mob wars, kidnappings, secret twins, and corporate conspiracies. But the arrest of a child, Laura Collins' grandchild, no less, ignited a panic that spread with shocking speed. Danny, already shaken by recent events, ran straight to Jason and Alexis, grasping for guidance that looked anything like stability. Charlotte, wide-eyed and trembling, didn't hesitate before calling Lulu, her voice cracking as she tried to relay every detail. And when Emma and Gio found out, they sprinted to the one person in town who terrified nearly everyone but had always been gentle with kids, Sonny Corinthos. Within minutes, the crisis became a collective mission. It seemed as if every teenager in Port Charles was pleading with the adults they trusted most, forcing the town's power players into uncomfortable alliances. Yet in the middle of all the emotional chaos, one figure stood out: Britt Westbourne. Britt's unexpected intervention. Britt had no biological tie to Rocco, no legal obligation to his well-being. Yet the moment she heard what happened, she acted with the ferocity of a mother defending her own child. She confronted Sidwell, a man whose connections made him both dangerous and indispensable, and framed her plea in a way he could not ignore. She didn't hide behind technicalities or moral arguments. She called Rocco her son. Whether Sidwell believed her or simply respected her enough to comply, he sent his directive. Dalton was to drop the charges immediately. It should have ended there. But Dalton wasn't done. Dante's impossible role. When Rocco arrived at the PCPD, small wrists swallowed by adult handcuffs, Dante felt the sharp, nauseating split between his two roles. To the world, he was Sheriff Falconeri. To Rocco, he was still Dad. And for the first time, the two identities could not coexist. Officers watched him. Protocol demanded impartiality. His badge forbade the instinct to pull his son into his arms and shield him from the world. So Dante forced himself to breathe deeply, steady his voice, and treat Rocco as any other juvenile suspect brought into custody. The emotional violence of that moment was something only a parent could understand. But Dante did what he could. When the adrenaline settled and the paperwork finished, he released Rocco into Laura's care, but not without consequences. He informed his son, with the cold discipline of a man barely holding himself together, that he would still need to appear at arraignment the next morning. The law did not bow for family, and Dante refused to sabotage his integrity at the first test. But that was only the beginning of the storm. Dalton's quiet raid. Dalton received Sidwell's order to drop the charges, but he didn't care. His wounded pride burned hotter than his fear of repercussions. To him, Rocco wasn't the problem. Laura was the problem. Rocco was just the weapon he intended to keep using. He vowed, quietly and with chilling clarity, that the boy would pay. Dalton had been humiliated in front of the mayor, scolded in front of staff, overridden by Sidwell, and he refused to let a teenager walk away unscathed. It wasn't justice. It wasn't science. It was ego. But defying Sidwell was a line no one dared cross. And everyone in Port Charles knew what happened to people who insulted Sidwell's authority. A dangerous shift toward Ava. As Dalton hardened his stance, Sidwell shifted his focus elsewhere, to Ava Jerome. Their chemistry had been building in small, sharp moments, shared glances, shared enemies, a mutual disdain for Sunny that simmered like low heat on a burner. Sidwell saw in Ava a darkness that matched his own, a kind of mirror where ambition blended seamlessly with desire. And according to spoilers for November 14th, he intended to abandon lab drama and legal conflict for something far more intoxicating. It was a dangerous combination, a man who controlled information and influence, and a woman who had built her life on surviving men exactly like him. Whether their connection would become seduction or destruction remained unclear, but one thing was certain. While Sidwell drifted toward pleasure, Asterisk Dalton drifted toward vengeance. Asterisk asterisk. Hash 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 a town on edge. By the end of the episode, the lines in Port Charles had been drawn. Asterisk Dante fighting to stay professional while his heart shattered. Laura trying to protect her grandson from political predators. The teens scrambling for safety. Sidwell drifting into Ava's orbit. Dalton preparing to wage a personal war. The arrest of one boy had exposed every crack in the foundations of Port Charles's institutions. Law enforcement, politics, science, family, and the consequences were only beginning to unfold. November 13th wasn't just an episode. It was the first tremor of an earthquake. And when the ground finally breaks, no one, least of all Rocco, will be standing in the same place. If you want, I can also create a * part 2 continuation *, a * YouTube script version *, a * shorter summary *, or a * 10 title list of dramatic headlines.